Hey everybody, it's Neil. This is the Maverick Show, and thanks for tuning in on what for me is a Saturday night, for some people is a Sunday morning, and whatever it is for you. Thanks for dropping by. And all of a sudden, I realized my computer is unplugged. I don't know. Uh, I'm just the second worst DJ ever. All right, plugged it back in. Things started going dim. All right. Hello, Cope. We got Rondon, we got Dunstable, Enjar, who might be fake newsing. We got Izaria, who was the composer and auteur of that theme song you just heard. We got PZ, Patient Zero. We got TC Polymath, second worst. Seems legit. It is. Anybody who's watching on the video stream, you can see my lovely basement that I've have yet to remodel in the, I guess, 9 years I've owned this house. If you can see the yellow, the entire house was this color before when we bought it. The outside is the same color. And the guy who lived here before was a contractor. And like one of those contractors you definitely don't want to hire because it's just terrible, terrible job of all things. But I guess they had leftover paint at some point and everything was this kind of mustard yellow, which was just horrendous. So never got around to repainting the basement here. But yeah, this is my Corona area. 1300 on Sunday. That's quite a time difference. Then are you one of the Aussie crews? Don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so working from home, time change with the show and everything's kind of killing me. So I might end up moving the show. That's why there was no show last week. I just crashed and wasn't able to make it. So look out for that in the future. But yeah, down south. All right. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks. Souther is, yeah. In the U.S., we call them Southerners, not Southers. One of those regional dialect things, I'm sure. And in Boston, they call them Southies. Look out for what? Look out for a possible time change. Ron, are you even listening? Probably not. So let's transition though, and talk about some of the stuff that I want to talk about. It's going to be kind of a hodgepodge show. Because there have been some interesting developments, both in the Splinterlands, Souther being more south, okay, in the Splinterlands universe, also in the wider cryptoverse, also in the wider financial universe. So I did want to hit a couple topics. Crypto Eater actually messaged me a couple days ago, and I was pretty slow in getting back to him. But he wanted to highlight his idea to enable uncombining of cards for a cost. And apparently this has already been suggested to the team, and the team has said no. So I don't know exactly what the, what he's so eager to talk about. But at some point, probably next week, he'll come on the show and give a full-throated, vigorous defense to his idea. But it's an interesting one. If you are able to, or if you were able to burn dark energy crystals in order to separate cards, that would be a great sink for dark energy crystals. But also, it would allow for a lot more liquidity in the markets because a lot of people, myself included, combine a lot of cards, and not necessarily in the most advantageous ways. And it's like, well, do I want to buy more alpha whatevers and max out a card for some ungodly amount of money, or would I rather break them apart for cost and then let other people soak up that liquidity? So it is an interesting idea. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. I tend to think not, but he will come on at some point and talk about that. If you want to read the post, you're welcome to. And I think the best comment is Jarvy's comment in the thread, and it goes through some numerical examples as to what that would mean for things. So check it out, and that'll be an upcoming post or an upcoming topic on the show. But onto other things that are actually happening. So uh, there was this post out what was it, 12 days ago now. See, this would have been on last week's show, but I couldn't stay awake. So so Splinterlands is now accepting Hive and HBD, to the surprise of nobody, right? Um, I think it's just a matter of time before Splinterlands moves. I mean, the Steam network itself is just becoming more and more unusable. At least in my experience, I'm getting all kinds of errors while playing, and I don't play that many games. You know, I basically do my quests, and that's pretty much it. I'm getting errors like transaction could not be processed or something, and then it just ignores, and then it keeps going. So it's a very is that censored yet? No, it's not censored yet because I I was able to find it in the Splinterlands blog. If you want to talk censorship, I did have my first experience with the Steam censorship regime. Let's see if I can find that. I made a little video of it, and let's see if I can find the right thing. Oh, it's not on Steam Peak. That's right. It's on Peak D. Dude. Let me just pull up the post here. Steam censorship in action. So I don't want to play the video, but if you want to check it out, you can see how some of the mechanics are working out. The minute support post saying we're moving to Hive got censored. Yeah, I believe that. But that's not what that post is saying from the Splinterlands. What they're saying is just that they are accepting Hive and HBD as payments. And, you know, on the one hand, makes sense. Hive and HBD are, extremely similar, obviously, to Steam and SBD as far as, transactional processing. So it's no big deal to add that to Splinterlands. But I think, from comments that we've heard from the team and just overall user experience and the things we're seeing in the Discord of Splinterlands, I really think it's just a matter of time. And a lot of people are going to be upset with that, especially those people who were mostly in the SCT community and had their did not get an airdrop, and whatever term you want to use for that. Obviously, they feel slighted. That's understandable, I think. But, yeah, it's looking like that's the way it's going to go. And, for me, I don't really have a dog in the race. I want the game to work, so I understand not working with Steam because, the nodes are not reliable, or the node, I guess. But, I would rather, and I actually mentioned this to Yaba, that I would rather see Splinterlands develop a true database only blockchain specifically to support blockchain gaming. And the response I got was yeah, we agree, it's a great idea, we've had similar kind of thoughts, but bandwidth and resources are nowhere near sufficient to do that kind of thing right now. And I understand that. So but for the long term, I would love to see something like that, and that kind of ties in with what I was saying, or what I've said in the past about Splinterlands becoming a meta blockchain game, where you could have assets on multiple chains of NFTs, and then it could read those assets in multiple places, and then you could run your operations for actually playing the game with those disparate assets. I think that's the way to go, because getting involved in the politics of this kind of stuff is just is not helpful to the game, right? And then it also allows the communities of different groups to be more involved, I think. So there was just the Wax integration, which had been around for months. Got some press from the Wax side on Twitter, so that was kind of interesting. That was a few days ago. Again, nothing new. Just they decided to publicize it, and yeah. So I think making things more accessible uh, to more communities will be a good thing. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. Uh, Another thing I just wanted to hit on real quick was the updates, and this was 5 days ago. We can hit that post right there. Player titles and profile updates. So titles are being added. One thing I have not checked is if mine are actually available yet. Because so in the Kickstarter, um, part of the some of the packages were titles. So I don't see anything in my profile here. Maybe I have to do something more. I don't know. But they are coming. So adding titles to the game, or no, that's not what we said. So first, we are adding custom player titles that will be shown after the player's account name everywhere in the game. The first titles will be the Untamed, which was included in the $1,000 and higher contribution tiers from our recent crowdfunding campaign, as well as the custom titles from the 10K packages. I don't know why that's plural, because TC Polymath, as far as I know, is the only one who got that. In the future, we will also be adding additional titles for players to earn in various ways as well. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't even remember what the title that I bought was, but it was, whatever was included in the package. So that'll be fun. Probably get a Kickstarter code in email, so you can choose what account to add them to. That would make sense. So titles will also be transferable in the near future. We are working on an inventory screen in-game for players to manage all of their non-card NFTs, which include titles, skins, and some items that will be added in the future. We will also plan to create a market for these non-card NFTs as well, so they can be easily bought and sold just like cards. That's pretty exciting, especially if titles or certain titles end up having effects. So skins, yes, has been kind of a I don't know if I'm going to call it a flop, but has not seen much much activity. At least not that I've seen in the game. And if you go over to the shop, I believe you can actually see the counts. Let's see, skins. Choose a set. Splinter Storm. Yeah, there's still only the one theme, and it looks like there's like 15 have been purchased of the various cards. So not a lot. Only 8 Swamp Things have been bought. So yeah, not a quick seller. But part of the thing is that one, they're very limited because there's only the one, and as far as I know, they have not opened that up to third-party developers yet, which I think would be a big win. And they aren't transferable. So yeah, but by making them transferable, I think that will add potential to that market. But the titles I think are really cool because everybody wants their bragging points. I certainly do. So if I could buy something that sounded really cool with my name, I think that would be awesome. And it'll remain to be seen if they develop this marketplace how well the third-party market makers are able to integrate with that. I don't know why Banjo's blaming Canada, but sure, why not? And yeah, so let's see. These changes are scheduled to go live on April 13th, which is Monday, I guess. 1400 UTC or 10 a.m. Eastern. And the Untamed titles from the crowdfunding campaign will also be given out to eligible players on or before that date. So that should be pretty close. Technical change, price feed average time change. It was 12 hours for the moving average of the prices to prevent, market manipulation. And now they've shortened that to 3 hours, and they're keeping it that way. And a little bit of adjustments in the Champion 1 League, which, applies to 50 players, something like that. So they're going to remove the positive bias to the ranking system, which I think is a good move, and make it more competitive and not just a matter of spamming like a 50% win rate so that's cool. We're getting a couple new rule sets, heavy hitters, which everybody has knockout, which is kind of fun. That'll make the stun ability pretty intense, and cleanse too. But very few cards have cleanse, so yeah. In fact, let's just take a quick count. I can only think of like 3 off the top of my head that have cleanse, but let's see what else we got. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 cards have cleanse. So we've got the Herbalist on the life team. We've got the Silver Sheet Bard also on the life team. We have Truth Speaker also on life. And Mermaid Healer on water, Zalran Efreet on fire, and Diamond Dragon on the dragons. So yeah, so Earth and Death are looking a little bit sparse there. So you would need to play, if you wanted to use those cards, you would need to do a diamond. You would need to use a diamond, or sorry, not a diamond, a dragon team to be able to play like that. So interesting. That'll be a new meta for that. And then we're also getting Equalizer, which I think is actually really interesting. So the initial health of all monsters is equal to that of the monster on either team with the highest base health. So if somebody throws in a max level Peaceful Giant, everybody has 17 health. So that's going to dramatically change dynamics. So I think that'll be fun to see. And then again, those will come out on the 13th. And development pipeline stuff, they're looking at, they've completed the initial development of Anytime Tournaments, which is the asynchronous, and expecting public testing soon in the next few weeks, which is cool. And then after that, they're working on separate leaderboards for different leagues, which is something the community's requested for a long time. And yeah, this is, to deal with the farmer bot accounts that are playing like level 1 cards up into gold 2 or whatever it is. And there's been lots and lots of complaining about the leagues and about the bots and ad nauseum in the chats. So hopefully this will rectify or address most of that. Because really, I'm just tired of hearing about it. So I've been hearing about it for a year and a half, almost 2 years at this point. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Any kind of change that there's going to be, somebody's going to complain. But as long as it's like a lost audio. Let's see. Can you see me? Okay. All right. Yeah, it sounds like it's just you, TC. You probably can't hear me. And he's back. Can you hear us now? All right, great. So yeah, one thing about my internet connection here is that just randomly it like pauses for like 20 seconds and then it comes back. So if that happens, just bear with me. It's not like a dropped frame issue. It's just weird, and hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. Because it's intermittent. It's not like every so often. It's just a couple times a day. But yeah, so those are the relevant announcements from the actual team. So probably going to move to Hive, and those development changes, new rule sets, titles, and change to the champion ranking system. So cool stuff. I'm looking forward to the Anytime tournaments. I think that will dramatically, well, I don't know how dramatically, but it will expand the tournament player base. So, speaking of player base, let's take a look at the Steam web statistics. And where did I put that? Well, first, it wouldn't really change it. Yeah, the more reliable nodes will be good. The change will be that the SCT players will be pissed. That's the main change. Also, there's going to be some possible sentiment changes about the branding of what chain you're using. So I think sentiment right now is probably on the Hive side, but the price just got crushed a little while back. Looks like the chatter I've seen has been blaming Binance for releasing funds for Justin as a special case, and then him just dumping to crush the price, which might be true. I don't know, but one of the great things about Discord is that if you're in a channel with Banjo, you can throw $ ticker asterisks, and it'll bring up both uh, Hive and Steam tickers. So, like on Bittrex, Hive is trading at 10 cents, 10.8 cents, and on for Steam it's 15 cents. So both are low, both are not good, but Hive was doing better there for a second. Um, so yeah, it is what it is, right? So again, I would rather see Splinterlands on a gaming blockchain rather than having to deal with all this nonsense. Uh, but on to the statistics. So here's the market cap. We got a little bit of an uptick over the past little while. That's from the Discord bot, and then on the on Rafalski's SteamWeb.pl, we've got the battles per day, which is looking okay. Let's see if my screen will grab will work. Okay. Ooh, this is going slow. Okay. So here we have battles per day, slight downtrend from end of March, which you would think would be different because everybody's sticking at home. So I guess whatever amount of people were playing that's who was playing. So we're not seeing any uptick um, to the number of battles played. Active users, same kind of story. The downtrend is not as noticeable. It's pretty flat to up, I would say. Um, and that's I'm not entirely sure how he counts all real players, but whatever it is, it's been a consistent measurement, so we'll go with that. And then let's see, what else did I want to do? This was interesting. The packs purchased. So we got a nice little bump in packs, in untamed, in booster packs over the last 3 days. So I don't know what those are coming from. I don't know if we've got some new people or a new whale or two entering the market, but yeah, that's a bunch. We got 3,000 or 2943, and then 1783, and then 4020. So let's do a little. That happens when deck goes down, sure. 1783. And deck has been going down. That's going to be next on the next on the charts. So 8,746 packs over the last 3 days, which is a good chunk. I think we are at about 50% to the next um, release of the airdrop. So we're about 57%, which is pretty good. That's actually progressing faster than I thought it would. So that's a plus. And along with that, we got a slight, I emphasize slight bump in the overall market prices. And let's see, was there anything else I wanted to show on SteamWeb? Doesn't look like it. We had the million deck tournament a couple days ago. That was pretty popular. We got actually, we have a lot of the tournament activity is pretty interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how this changes over when we get anytime tournaments. Because like for one thing, I'll be playing tournaments, and I don't now just because it just takes too much time. So here we could see that we had a lot of registrations over the last couple days, last week or so for tournaments, but then actual players, it was up, but it was not like, you know, so far up like it shows in the registrations. And then, you know, with anytime tournaments, that will, you know, potentially rectify that, or at least a portion of it. They were talking in the Discord about fixing cooldowns with tournaments, which will be a good change. And then, you know, we'll see, hopefully, you know, more players playing tournaments, less abuse inside tournaments, as far as, you know, trying to game the system. So overall, I think there'll be a net positive. But of course, the story, or the name of the game, is growing the player base. You know, shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic doesn't do a whole lot. Somebody might end up with more chairs, somebody might end up with less chairs, but overall doesn't help the whole system. So what is it going to mean to bring in more people? Now, we all, or not we all, but those of you who've been around in the Steam and Hive and whatever Splinterlands ecosystem for a while have seen the ups and downs in the user base. You know, that's very tightly correlated with the price of Steam. And I guess in the future will be correlated with the price of Hive. And of course, that tends to follow with the overall crypto markets. So we had some big developments this past week. So I don't know if you noticed, but we're in the beginnings of a global depression. So you know, people are not at work, and then, you know, we had this crazy stimulus stuff passed in the U.S. and various other flavors passed in other countries around the world. And you know, the meme has been money printer go brrr. I can't even roll my R's anymore. Brrr. There we go. So it's gotten worse just the past couple of days. So the thing to keep in mind is that, one, the Federal Reserve is I would argue the most important central bank in the world. You know, the ones. I'll say it again, Ron. Money printer go brrr. All right, so you know the central banks of the world. There's the Fed, there's the ECB, there's the Bank of England, there's the People's Bank of China, there's the Bank of Japan, and I mean, obviously there are other ones, but I think those are the most important ones. And so the Fed, if we look at the balance sheet here, spiked to, you know, crazy all-time high. This is an indexed number, so I think it's up to 6 trillion. Let's see if I can edit this and change this from an index to just millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars. So yeah, we're up to 6.083 trillion. Which is way above the the previous high from QE3, and so there's been a lot of people saying that this is going to drive the price of crypto up, and maybe so. The thing to understand is that people not working and people, especially people not paying loans, like mortgages, like credit cards, like car notes and stuff like that, is very, very deflationary, because you have to understand how the fractional reserve system works. So the bank holds, let's just use a simple example. You deposit $100 into a bank, and then the bank uses that as collateral to create new money. And under the old rules, that used to be like, if the bank had $100, it could create loans of, when you go through the iterations, up to $1,000 of loans. So when those loans don't get paid back, that $1,000 of money that is now out there gets destroyed. So people not working and not paying their mortgages and all these kinds of things is destroying money quite a bit. And the Fed is trying to counteract that with all this crazy stuff that they're doing. So So, where will it balance out? Will it balance out net inflationary? Will it balance out net deflationary? We don't know. So the people who are saying, oh, the Fed's printing money, therefore crypto rises, like, whoa, let's hold on a second. It's not that simple. And then you have to add in the sentiment, layer on top of that. It was like, when, as people see this happening, you know, does their mind shift to say, well, holding dollars is no longer, or is a less reliable asset than I thought it was? And, should I then sell dollars and buy, crypto, or buy gold, or buy real estate, or buy whatever? Real estate's a very slow moving market, so that's obviously not the case. Um, but if we look at, let me pull up the trading view. I'll pull up a Bitcoin chart here. Let's see, BTC USD. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's look at the daily. So we can see we caught a bid. Let's copy that. Should we buy cards? Well, that is the question, isn't it? So this is just BTC from Bitfinex. Looks like daily chart. We saw that monkey hammer down on the March 12th, and then it's been rising back. But it's not been a moonshot like a lot of people thought it would be. And then similarly, not similarly, if we look at gold, which has a much more traditional, alternative safe haven function, then that has caught a bid and is at, pretty close to all-time highs. There's some wicks that are higher, and we hit what was it, 1900 back in the previous financial crisis. So we're pretty close already to that. So people are definitely rotating more into gold than they are into crypto. We will have to see how that works out over time. So the point of all that is to say that, well, Steam follows Bitcoin to a large degree, and the price of Steam has actually been dropping both in fiat terms and in Satoshi terms. So all of that means that dark energy crystals and the other assets inside of the Splinterlands ecosystem have been just not doing great, and we can see that on the market cap chart. That we saw a peak, going into Untamed. I'll just repaste it here. Copy, paste, and it's just been it's just been tough. So the question is it worth buying cards? And that is predicated on crypto rising and bringing more users into the crypto sphere, and some portion of those make their way into Splinterlands. And at the moment, I'd say the evidence is mixed. We saw Bitcoin rise a little bit over the last little while, but has not recovered from that 1 day slam fully. So I don't know. And then just to make things more complicated, deck is greater than cards, maybe. So let's take a look at deck. So I'm looking at the next.steamengine.com site, and this is what we've been doing. This was what the price has been doing. We had that fraud attack, which was honestly barely noticeable. Right now we're hanging out at 25, 0.0025 steam per dark energy crystal. But then we have to keep in mind that this is in Steam P, right? So what has Steam been doing? And here we have a 1 year chart. And so the answer is nothing good. There was Yeah, try to sell some alpha cards, no go. Yeah, I mean, there's almost no liquidity in alpha cards, um, which is unfortunate because I have 3% of all the alpha cards. Uh, but yeah, we saw the spikes, with the hive battle and going. Uh, yeah, that's the overall chart in Steam P. So, um, all the way back to the lows that we started off in back in June, July, a year ago, which is sad. But really, all things Splinterlands are priced in U.S. dollars, so we have to multiply that chart out in dollars, which I do keep track of loosely on my own spreadsheets, but I have not updated that in quite a while, and it takes a little while to actually do that, so I don't have that chart ready. Point is that Steam's falling. Users are abandoning Steam because of the whole political split, and the net result is, price is down. So the price of dark energy crystals is down, even though it's staying, kind of steady in Steam terms. Um, and so far we saw that some people, like TC Polymath was saying, some people are taking advantage of that to use that arbitrage to buy packs. Um, but it's nowhere near nowhere near enough. And also, when you use dark energy crystals to buy packs, it's not actually a burn because that money, that dark energy crystal money, gets recycled in tournaments. So I don't know what the rate of recycling is. I think aggro could answer that if they chose to, but yeah, it's not like you're destroying deck and shrinking the supply. Bottom line, um, and so adding complication to the whole money printer versus crypto uh, question is this story that, well, a couple things happened. So part of the changes in regulation was that, how I said, if you deposit $100, bank can loan $1,000. Well, they, as of March 20 something, um, they got rid of the reserve requirement entirely. So at this point, a bank can lend as much as it wants. The problem is that and reserves don't matter. There can be zero reserves, which they were anyway. But they at least paid lip service to it in the past. But now that's gone. So banks can make as many loans as they want, backed by nothing, and the goal being to stimulate spending, right, and stimulate economic activity. However, there's nobody to lend to because businesses are shut down. So maybe when the first wave of virus lockdown passes, then things will pick back up and loan activity will increase, velocity of money will go back up, all those kinds of things, and then we'll start to see price inflation and then see crypto catch a bid, maybe. In the meantime, another crazy thing that the Fed did is they have said that they're going to start buying formerly investment grade company debt that then dropped to junk debt. So this is a little technical thing where in the bond market, companies are rated by the three U.S. rating agencies, and at a certain level, basically the middle of the B's, they're that or higher, they're considered investment grade, which means that mutual funds and index funds and kinds of things institutional buyers can buy them, and if they get below that because of either business activity gets worse or the outlook looks bad or whatever, the ratings agencies downgrade them, and then they become high yield or junk or whatever you want to call it, just not as reliable of payers in the rating agency's opinions. So once that happens, those institutional buyers, or at least a large percentage of them, have to then sell those bonds, which decreases the price of the bonds and increases the yields, and that's why they're called high yield. So what the Federal Reserve did was they came out with a new rule saying that, well, if your company had corporate debt that was investment grade before March 22nd, or March 24th. It was right around my birthday, whatever it was. Um, I'm trying to find the exact date. Da, 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 da. But if it was investment grade and then it dropped, then we the Fed are going to start buying some of that debt. And basically they picked the date. It was right around when Ford got downgraded. Um, so this is like full Japan mode. So I feel like I keep making tangents, but this is all related to the overall story. So um, Japan in the 80s had the fastest growing economy in the world. There were people who would buy a Toyota or a Honda or whatever, and like I guess a used one. And I remember seeing on the news as a kid that people were making an event out of it where they would smash one of these cars with a sledgehammer, and they called it like Japan bashing, and it was all like in reaction to the growth and strength of the Japanese economy, and the Nikkei 225, which is their version of the S&P, peaked at crazy levels. At one point, Tokyo real estate was worth more than like every other real estate in the world, like combined. It was some crazy amount. I don't remember the exact specifics. It was 30 years ago. So, but if you if you look at the actual chart of the Nikkei, it looks like this. So you see that peak over on the left, that was 1989. And then it came down, like all bubbles burst, and then it bounced around and it came down. That was the dot-com bubble, and it came down again in the financial crisis, and and it had a hell of a rally since then. Just like every other market in the world, but it's still like what 24 versus 38, so it's still like a third off from its all-time peak. That was 30 years ago, and part of the problem with that is that the Japanese basically invented quantitative easing, and the Bank of Japan has done stuff like directly buying Japanese company equities and bonds, and basically has done all the things that the Fed is now doing. Their rates are now negative. The U.S. rates are now zero. They're going to be negative before too long. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So, I fully expect that these plans that the Fed is doing is not going to work, and we're going to end up, in a very similar kind of stagnating economy that Japan has had for the last 30 years. And I did the math a while ago. This was probably, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, where I did the math where, like, if you were an investor and you had done the dollar cost averaging thing into the Japanese market, it's like, what would your net result have been? Because stock market goes up, right? So if you had done that as a Japanese person and bought the Japanese index, then your rate of return over a working lifetime would have been about 1%, which is a disaster because inflation is more than 1%. So you actually would have lost money over that investing career. And if you notice, Japan has one of the oldest populations in the world, and they have very few kids, and it's becoming a giant problem for them. And a big part of the reason is that the birth rates have fallen off a cliff over the last generation because the economy is so bad. So it just boggles my mind that people can't connect those two dots. So all that is to say that there's going to be crazy gyrations in the markets, and it is really unclear how that's going to affect people either opting out of the dollar or opting out of the stock markets and going into crypto, which then affects how many people get into Steam or Hive or whatever it ends up being, and how many people make their way into blockchain gaming and become users in Splinterlands. So it's a big picture that's going on, and even though we are, a tiny little group of, I guess 4,000, I call them playing accounts because there's probably what 2,500, maybe 3,000 actual players. Um, and the future prospects of how all that affects us are significant, and I don't know the answer. So, Ron asked, "Should I buy cards?" It's like, I don't know. Um, if you want to play and you need more cards, absolutely, right? But if you're talking investment speculation returns, it's just cloudy. It's hard to say. I mean, rental market's still doing nothing. I put out a bunch of summoners and a couple of legendaries for all escrow with just 0.001 per day rental charges, and there's been no bites on that. Um, so I don't know. I wish I had a better answer. But you know, I saw Yaba commenting that he and the rest of the team are thinking big. They're looking to grow in the ways that we want them to grow. In the sense that we want to be not just a big blockchain game, which Splinterlands already is the biggest blockchain game, but in terms of users anyway. But also, we want to be just a big game, and that would mean several times multiple of the user base, and they're totally on board with that. And they say they have plans. We don't really know what those plans are yet, but hopefully they come to fruition. My wallet would be very happy with that, because right now my collection value is looking. I mean, obviously it's more than most because I've put in way too much money into this thing, but the market price is 62, and at that prior high, it was like 96 or something like that. It was 90 something, so it's down roughly 30% since then. Um, but I'm riding the wave. It's let's see. Steve R82 says I rented out a few more cards, but I'm not a whale, so just a few more pennies a day. Sure. Um, I think the cynical part of me says that with anytime tournaments and with more activity, then there will be more bot rentals of cards so that they can operate in more tournaments. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just the first the first negative thing that comes to mind. And Patient Zero says when they get you on the Fed blockchain and you can't get the money out of your wallet, those negative interest rates will pay themselves with your account balance. Uh, yeah, I mean the chance. So they've been talking about central bank digital currencies and digital dollars and all this kind of stuff. It's never going to be a real blockchain. Not a chance. There is 0% chance that the government and the Fed, which is quasi-government, is going to open themselves up to the accountability that a blockchain brings. So there will be negative rates. That is true. And they will want to ban or limit cash transactions, which they're already doing with the whole coronavirus stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be an issue. So, at that point, it's possible that some people will opt into crypto. Uh, they call that a stitch up down under. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it's possible that when that happens, some people will rotate into crypto. Um, I don't know. It depends on how much fear there is and how much capital control is implemented into the financial systems. So this is kind of a somewhat separate topic, but it drives me insane that people took the greatest monetary revolution of the past 5,000 years and turned it into a financial asset that acts just like every other thing by trading on centralized exchanges. It just boggles my mind. And I don't know if it's a lack of imagination for people or, the people trading on exchanges just don't care and they're just out in there to make money, which is probably the explanation. But it just drives me insane. It's like, why would you have a distributed ledger that is decentralized and then put your money into a an escrow account and then hope that the exchange, works as you think it'll work for your benefit? When you could just as easily just use a decentralized exchange and do peer-to-peer transactions because it's a peer-to-peer technology. And I don't know. I don't want to rant for too long. I've only got 8 minutes left in the show, but I it's just crazy. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, like that meme from Zoolander. Let's see if I can find a GIF. Come on, Discord. There we go. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. It's just rant, bro, rant. Oh man. So, you know, like in the beginning, there's a so Steve, it's not so he says most people don't care that much about the decentralized stuff, and that's true. However, the the history of Bitcoin exchanges and crypto exchanges in general is horrendous. So you would think that just simple experience would lead people to believe it's like, yeah, maybe I should leave my money with this exchange. I don't know, maybe. The number of hacks and stolen things, and there was the guy in Canada who died, and nobody had the key to the cold wallet, all kinds of crazy stuff. But your money is not safe on an exchange, just isn't. Uh, and history has shown that, from Mount Gox onward, right? Uh, but but the crazy thing to me is that, so again, Bitcoin was invented as a money, an alternative financial instrument uh, during the last financial crisis, and the thing that's really holding it back from being an actual money is is the universal usage. And by treating it like a stock, or like a property, it is not helping advance that universal usage. So I mean, people are just shooting themselves in the foot. Uh, so yeah, you don't leave stuff on exchanges. Well, that's good. I mean, I understand. So like when I'm cashing out my Steam and my Hive, I sell it through Bittrex, which is a centralized exchange, because that's pretty much my only choice. IONME is great, but it doesn't have enough volume for me um, to actually transact, my power downs. But yeah, I mean, I sell my Hive and I sell my Steam, and then I immediately transfer my Bitcoin to my own wallet. So I don't leave anything on there for more than however long it takes to confirm transactions. I mean, talking 30 minutes or less. But anyway, so like in the beginning there was debt, there was commodity type money like salt and the Yap Island stones and gold and silver and all that kind of stuff. It just became uh, BTC is a dinosaur. That is true. The 10-minute thing is just crazy. However, uh, why not Litecoin? Whatever. I mean, so I sell all my stuff to Bitcoin right now because, as far as I'm concerned, Bitcoin has remained the crypto market leader, and any money coming into crypto is going to go into Bitcoin first. And we saw that in the last rally a couple years ago, that Bitcoin led the rise of all the altcoins by about a month. And I think that same dynamic will occur if if we see another spike. So that's how I'm doing it. That is not financial advice, even though I used to be a financial advisor or an investment advisor, technically. And dinosaurs were around for a long time. That's a good point, Lax. They ruled the earth for like 300 million years. And yeah. So yeah. But anyway, point is, centralized exchanges are are crazy talk. If you can avoid them, don't use them. Uh, it would be light years better for everybody except for the governments to use decentralized exchanges. And when the capital controls come, You want to make sure you have those systems set up so that you can transfer your fiat dollars or yen or whatever you're using into decentralized exchange systems so that you can start using your crypto as actual money rather than as a speculative asset. So that's just my 2 cents. This is Neil's show. He usually charges $100 for an hour's time, so consider yourself lucky. And that is actually true. I do charge $100 an hour for consults. A lot more for tax work, but yeah. So so one of the Steve R says one of the issues I see with crypto is a lot of stuff assumes people can buy stuff when in fact a lot of the world lives on credit. That is true. There are probably credit systems are probably going to evolve as crypto becomes a money. It is not yet. This kind of goes into Peter Schiff's hate on Bitcoin because so in Austrian economics there's this thing called the regression theorem, which says that in order for a money to exist, it has to be derived from, like, if you regress back far enough, it was a commodity money that was universally accepted. So, and his argument against Bitcoin is that it was invented just out of the blue, so it did not go through the regression theorem. What he doesn't realize is that we are going through that process now. So crypto is currently a commodity that advertises as of money, but it's not actually money yet because you can't really spend it, at least not universally. So, as that acceptance expands, that regression theorem becomes satisfied, and then it becomes money. But we're not there yet. So I hope we will someday. Back when clients were coming into the office, I had to ask them the new tax question. I said, did you buy or sell or trade or do anything with any kind of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency? Because that's a question on the new U.S. tax returns. And so I kept track while people were in the office. 2% said yes, and most of it was, oh yeah, I bought like $10 or $100 of Bitcoin, and they're just sitting on it. Another 2% said, oh, it's a scam, I don't trust that. And another like 15% said that, just what is that? Never heard of it. And the remainder just said some variant of no. So I mean, we are a long ways from that universal adoption as a money. But yeah, so I tell people though, a lot of those people would ask me, like, well, what do you think about this whole crypto thing? And I tell them that 100 years from now, we're not going to be trading pieces of paper. It's just, I don't think it's going to happen. When between now and 100 years from now that switch happens, I don't know. Which technology will be the winner of that race, or which of a few will be winners, I don't know that either. Right now it's Bitcoin. We'll see how it goes. But that market shift into crypto has to happen in order for the player base to grow, unless the team pulls a rabbit out of their hat, and I hope they do. But otherwise, we are stuck waiting until market trends make that happen. But with that, I am out of time. So thank you all for tuning in, whether you're watching on the stream or in the Discord channel, or just watching this later on as a replay. But we'll catch you all next week on Monster Mavericks.